Hey, if it makes you feel good to cosplay as revolutionaries, knock yourself out, burn yourself out. Just don't drag Gaza into it. Also, throwing stuff on paintings is just stupid.
Some people seriously act like blocking traffic is the boldest act of bravery. As if stopping parents from picking up their kids or trapping workers in rush hour is going to change the world. Spoiler alert, it won't. And Bill Maher recently shredded this kind of woke activism, calling it exactly what it is: theater, not justice. We've all seen the scenes: roads shut down, bridges backed up, horns blaring non-stop. Moms are trying to race to daycare before late fees hit, students are rushing to class, and workers are just trying to clock in on time. Yet in the middle of all this chaos, a group of activists sit cross-legged on the highway, pretending to be modern-day Gandhi. Except Gandhi didn't glue his hand to the pavement for clout on TikTok.
Someone needs to tell the people who block traffic in the name of a cause, no one likes you. And you're probably hurting your cause. In case you haven't seen what's going on lately, activists for ending the war in Gaza have taken to gathering on roads and bridges and stopping commuters from crossing. It happened last week in New York and San Francisco, Chicago, Seattle. They also blocked traffic here on the 405, but no one noticed.
And that's Maher's whole point. If your activism punishes ordinary, hard-working people who had nothing to do with political decisions made in Washington or Tel Aviv, you're not a hero, you're a nuisance. Nobody feels inspired when they miss a doctor's appointment because you decided today was the day to scream about an issue you learned about 6 months ago on Twitter. And yes, I'll still call it Twitter, not X. Elon Musk can slap on a new logo all he wants, but we all know what that platform really is.
What they did notice was this, that you have to be pretty dumb to think that the way to bring people around to your point of view is to make them late to pick up their kids from daycare. And that's what most normies are thinking. I have a kid. I have a job, and yes, I'm sure there are injustices on both sides in the Middle East, as there are injustices all over the world, but I'm going to be late for work. Something you protesters on the bridge seem to have the luxury of not having to worry about, which seems kind of privilegey.
Maher didn't just laugh at the absurdity of blocking roads, he called out the hypocrisy. He asked why activists don't focus on places where oppression is brutal, undeniable, and life-crushing. Like the millions of women in the Middle East who live under gender apartheid with no rights, no freedom, and no voice. Those stories rarely show up on protest signs. Why? Because speaking up about that doesn't trend, it doesn't go viral, and it sure doesn't rack up 1,000 likes on Instagram or TikTok.
You can glue your hands to the street because your hands don't have to do any work today. I'm not saying there aren't sincere passions about Gaza, especially among people from the region, but social justice warriors, for a lot of them it seems like it's more about the warrioring than about whatever the cause is. If you really cared about apartheid so much, which Israel does not actually practice, Arabs there vote, they serve in parliament, they sit on the judiciary, wouldn't you start with this? With the hundreds of millions of women in the world who live under a true apartheid, a gender apartheid of the most brutal kind? I'll wait.
And that's where it stings. Much of today's activism isn't about conviction, it's about content. It's not about change, it's about clout. You see people wearing Che Guevara t-shirts as if he's some cool pop icon, ignoring the fact he was a racist, violent communist thug. But hey, the shirt looks edgy online, right? That's what matters. Maher ripped into this fake revolutionary act, pointing out that it's nothing more than cosplay. Activism has become a costume, the same way someone buys a Metallica shirt from Target without being able to name a single song. It's not real passion, it's just aesthetics.
Are you really speaking truth to power, or do you just think you look cool in a keffiyeh? Which is really just the new Che Guevara t-shirt. Another historical figure you never researched and so think is a hero, but was actually a sadistic, racist monster fighting for communism, the worst form of government ever. But these are small matters.
Now, let's be honest. How many of these so-called revolutionaries could actually hold a real conversation about the issues they're screaming about? Very few, if any. Ask them for details and all they've got are empty slogans, justice this or free that. Watch those street interviews where protesters get asked basic questions, it's comedy gold. The answers are either incoherent, contradictory, or flat-out embarrassing. And that's because so much of this isn't about knowledge, it's about looking the part.
Small matters when activism merges with narcissism. Less about the cause and more about me. Look at me. Watch me. And if you like the way I'm fighting injustice, remember to like and subscribe.
This is where activism collides with narcissism. It stops being about the cause and turns into look at me, notice me. Like, if you like my protest, don't forget to like and subscribe. Meanwhile, real people are just trying to make it through the day, packing lunches, paying bills, filling up the gas tank, praying they won't get stuck in traffic because someone decided to superglue themselves to the freeway. That's the hypocrisy Maher exposed. And then there's the art attacks. Who thinks throwing soup at a painting is going to stop climate change? Nobody looks at mashed potatoes smeared across a Monet and suddenly thinks, maybe I should recycle. All it does is destroy priceless art that belongs to humanity, not governments or oil companies.
If it makes you feel good to cosplay as revolutionaries, knock yourself out, burn yourself out. Just don't drag Gaza into it. Also, throwing stuff on paintings is just stupid.
And Maher nailed it, this isn't about real change, it's about attention. These people crave the spotlight, not solutions. It's performance art dressed up as activism, and the media eats it up. Clips of protesters gluing themselves to walls get more coverage than the actual problems they claim to care about. That's why the stunts keep happening, it's not a movement, it's a loop of outrage and attention. One of Maher's most brutal points was about the man who set himself on fire outside the Israeli embassy. Maher said it was tragic, but also pointed out that if self-immolation changed history, Abraham Lincoln would have asked Ulysses Grant for a log to burn himself on. Harsh, yes, but it proves the point: dramatic theatrics don't move history. Hard work, leadership, and strategy do.
One sees mashed potatoes on a Monet and thinks, he's got a point, I should recycle my cans. Last week, Google employees staged a sit-in to protest their company doing business with Israel. Their t-shirts said, Googlers against genocide, but they could have just as well said, look at me, see me. And Google did see them to the door.
And that's the raw honesty Bill Maher brought. Love him or hate him, he said what most of us already believe but are too afraid to say. Regular people don't have time to play pretend revolutionary. We're too busy paying real bills, working real jobs, and handling real responsibilities. The activists shutting down roads and vandalizing art are completely disconnected from reality. If they truly cared, they'd stop with the cosplay and start doing the unglamorous, boring, thankless work that actually changes something. Until then, it's just arrogance wrapped in activism.
In February, a sad, confused man even lit himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy, and in his last Facebook post he said, many of us like to ask ourselves, what would I do if I was alive during slavery? Interesting cocktail question, sir, and I guess the right answer is kill myself. But it wouldn't have actually fixed the problem if General Ulysses S. Grant had immolated himself and his last words were, hey Lincoln, are you using that log?
And that's why Maher's takedown hit so hard. He exposed the truth with sharp humor and no sugarcoating. So here's my challenge to you: next time you see one of these stunts, whether it's a blocked road, a protest selfie, or soup thrown on a painting, ask yourself, is this really about justice, or is it about attention? And better yet, do these people even understand what they're protesting? Because if the answer is no, then they're not activists, they're performers. And that makes all the difference. If you're as fed up with this circus as I am, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown, and tell me in the comments the worst protest stunt you've ever seen. Because one thing's for sure: the woke mob isn't running out of dumb ideas anytime soon.
I don't want to diminish how sad it is that someone would take their own life for any reason, but maybe from now on, before anyone commits an act of civil disobedience, they should ask themselves a few questions, like, is the most important thing in my life something I hadn't heard of 6 months ago? Do I even know? Do I even know what the fuck I'm talking about?